Now you're going to start by downloading the Access project file database. And when you first open it, you're going to need to enable the content. And you may have to answer yes to another prompt that asks you if you trust the source. And once you do both of those things, you should see a cinema table. And that is the only thing that's in the database at this point. You should double check and make sure that in your navigation pane, you are displaying all of the Access objects. Okay? And it doesn't matter if you do it by object type or table and related views. Either of those is fine. Just make sure that you have all Access objects turned on. First step is going to be to create the manager table, and you're going to do that right in design view. So you're going to go to create and go into table design. Okay, and you will be adding 5 fields. Manager ID is the primary key. So you are going to need to turn primary key on for that. And you'll also be adjusting the field size down in the properties. First name, last name, phone number, those are all text as well. So is email. So you will be modifying the field size for each one. And then you will also end up applying an input mask to phone. And once you have accomplished all of that, you will go ahead and save your table, and you're going to name it Managers. Okay. Then you will be going over into Datasheet view, and you will be keying in the different records. There should be 6 of them, so you're going to be keying those in. And make sure you use the best fit method to widen up your columns. And once you're done with the manager table, you're going to do some edits over in the cinemas table. So I'm just going to double click here. In this particular table, you are going to have to find the record with customer SCC-092. And you're going to be editing the phone number in that record. You will be deleting the record that has customer number WVM-222. So you'll find that one and delete it. And then you are going to be changing the data type for an existing field. So after you get done with the edit and the delete, you are going to have to go over to design view. And the district manager field needs to be changed. So you're going to come over to the data type for that field, and you will be selecting Lookup Wizard. And you will need to be entering the values for that field yourself. The number of columns that you're going to have is going to be 1. Okay, and the values are East-JD, East-MJ. They're all listed in the instructions. And I've also got them right in here, although you can't see them all. Okay, so they are listed in your instructions as well, and they're all in a single column. At that point, in the lookup wizard, after you enter the values, you're going to go ahead and finish. And then you are going to have to come down to the properties and select lookup. There are a couple of properties that you are going to have to change. You do want it to limit to the list, and you do not want value list edits. You also don't want multiple values. Okay, so you'll have to make those little adjustments. And at that point, you can save your changes. Now, to make sure that this is set up right, go back over to Datasheet View. And if you click in District Manager, you should see the lookup list. I'm not going to change this, just checking to make sure it worked. So at this point, I'm going to close out of Cinemas here. And your next step, once you have the tables, is to relate the tables. And you have to go into Database Tools and Relationships for that. And the minute you come in here, you are going to see Show Table, and you do need to add both of those tables to the window. And you are going to be creating a one-to-many relationship. Now to do that, you have to take the manager ID and you have to left drag it to the district manager. These are the same field. Even though they're named a little bit differently, the data that is in them is the same, and they are both short text fields. So you are going to drag this one right on top of this one, and that is going to display a relationship window. And you can just make sure, double check to make sure that you've got manager ID and district manager. Should be a one-to-many relationship. And then you are going to turn on the integrity rules and click OK or Create to create this relationship. Now you're going to have to save this, and once you save it, you can close out of there. Your next step is going to be to create a form, and you will be using the form wizard for that. So you go to Create, and you're going to choose Form Wizard. Now, I've already got one, but I'm going to launch it just so I can show you. In here, you do need to make sure that you're selecting the correct table. So you do want the cinema table, and you want all of the fields selected for that form. I'm going to cancel out of here. When you are done, the title should be Cinema Customer Accounts, but the name that displays over in the navigation is just Customer Accounts. So this is the title of the form, and this is the name that displays. You will be using this form to add 2 new records. Okay, so once you add the 2 records, you are pretty much done with the form. You can save it and close it. And then you're going to move on to create a couple of queries. The queries that you're going to create are in Design View. And when you go into Create, you can just go directly into Query Design. And when you do that, you should see a little window displayed where you can add your tables. If for some reason that window doesn't display, you can click on Show Table and add them yourself. And then you do need to add the fields in the proper order using the correct table. So the first field is going to be last name, and that is from the manager table. Then you have theater, city, state, and amount due, all from cinemas, and you need to put them in this order. You will be sorting everything by last name. That will be in ascending order. And then within last name, you are going to sort by amount due, and that will be in descending order. So when you run it, it should look something like this. Okay, so everything is sorted by last name. And then within last name, you should see it sorted by amount due. Okay, and then we've got our second query. And for that second query, again, you do need to add the fields in the correct order. And this time they are all from the cinemas table. You will be sorting everything by theater. And we did add a criteria for this so that we're only going to see records that have a district manager of West-AS. Okay, so you can see that it did sort by theater, and we are only seeing those records that have the district manager West-AS. Now you'll notice that the district manager does not display, and that is because we have him hidden. That is another requirement of this query. And we don't want the manager to display it, so we remove the check mark. So he is hidden, he or she. Okay, now once you've got that and the run looks good, you can close it. And then that just leaves you with one more task, which is creating the report. Now you are going to use the report wizard, which allows you to select the table or the query that you want to use for your report. So I'm going to go ahead, launch this report wizard, and you need to use the manager query. And then you're going to move all of the fields over there, click on next, and continue through the instructions. By default, it should group by manager and last name, so you should not have to change anything there. And when you get to the next screen, do you want to add grouping levels? You should not have to add anything here because it should be grouping by last name. And then when we get in here, you do want to sort by amount due in ascending order. And then I chose stepped layout with portrait orientation. I do want the entire field to display, so I said to adjust the width. And you are also instructed to change the title. It should not be managers, it should be customers by managers. So you're going to change that right in this location. Okay, and then when you are done, if you need to do any editing on the report, you're going to do that in layout view. Okay, and this is layout view. And one thing I did edit was I did put a space between amount and due. And I also selected amount due, press shift, and I clicked on all the values. And I just made them a little smaller, a little bit more space between amount due and theater. Those are the only changes that I made. And then you'd want to click on save. And at this point, you are done with the project. Okay, so you are going to want to make sure you close the database before you upload.